Hello, Phillies fans. It's Matt English with the very first broadcast of You Gotta Believe. I'm so excited to be with you today on this very special day in Phillies history. If you haven't heard, Rob Thomson's been fired today. The last time the Phillies made a mid-season managerial change this dramatic, they won the World Series the next year. So it's 2026 deja vu or something totally different. So let's talk about these moments and really what happened today. Danny Ozark in 1979 had led the Phillies through several years of success. They just couldn't quite get over the hump. So what did they do? They brought in Dallas Green. Guess what happens? The Phillies get better and better. They blow up mid-season 1980, and then all of a sudden they win the World Series for the first time ever, with Tug McGraw on the mound at the very end, jumping in the air and welcoming Mike Schmidt into his arms. That was a long time ago. I actually remember that. I also remember the successes of here in the 2020s. Rob Thomson comes on and replacing Joe Girardi, and Phillies end up going to the World Series and the championship games and the playoffs year after year after year. So, what happened this year? Rob Thomson is now out because the Phillies started their season 9-19. It's really hard to believe that we've gotten to this point this early in the season. So 9-19 start, tied for the worst record in Major League Baseball. Team lost 11 of 12, offense and pitching both at the very bottom of everything. I mean, our starting pitching ERA, god awful, even worse than the Mets, even worse than all the other teams. Our run differential, minus 50 whatever. That is not a world class, exceptional, talented team. So today, Rob Thomson, who is considered much of a player's manager, was let go by John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski. Don Mattingly named the interim manager for the Philadelphia Phillies. And anybody from the 1980s who grew up a big fan of baseball in the 80s knows who Don Mattingly is. He is probably one of the two or three top players who haven't made the Hall of Fame. We can get into that whole other discussion some other time. But Don Mattingly's the new manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. His son is actually on the Phillies staff as well. So Don was hired as bench coach earlier this season, and turns out he's now the manager for probably the rest of the season. So what was our GM president Dave Dombrowski thinking? Well, he said we needed a new voice, a different feeling in the clubhouse. Let's go back to 1979, a disappointing season. We had three straight divisional titles. Yeah, we were doing really well, including 1976, 50 years ago, if you want to believe that. So they brought in Dallas Green, a fiery, confrontational style type of manager who wanted to make sure that our veterans, Mike Schmidt, Bryce Harper, Larry Boa, Trey Turner, Greg Luzinski, Kyle Schwarber, wanted to make sure that they took it to the next level and weren't complacent. So this shakeup led directly to the 1980 World Series championship. Is it going to do the same for us? Well, we got an underperforming roster, high expectations, 1979, 2026. All right, we got a veteran core not playing to potential, 1979, 2026. Front office looking for a spark. Wants that big managerial change. And fans, we've been talking about this. The comparison looking for that Dallas Green style jolt. And here is what Donnie Baseball has to say about that. He says that he is ready to lead. He says he has the energy. He says he wants to get the team back to where they should be. He says they need a better all around baseball, and this is the time to do it. So he's ready to go. Well, let's go back again, back in time. So Dallas Green's intense confrontational approach worked in 79. May not land with modern players. We understand that, right? Rob Thomson, he wasn't necessarily the entire problem. I think it's more of a complacency issue. He had the best modern winning percentage in franchise history. That's 568. 57% of the games the Phillies played that he managed in were wins. Four straight playoff appearances. So are issues deeper than just motivation? Well, we got bad offense, bad pitching, bad defense. That's more structural than cultural. So can Donnie Baseball turn that around with some extra accountability? Personally, I would like the accountability to also go to Dave Dombrowski because he puts this roster together, and I'm pretty sure those some of those contracts he handed out weren't the right contracts. So what does this move actually signal? The front office is trying to salvage the season. I mean, it's spiraling out of control early right now. There is a belief that the roster has enough talent to take it back to that level that we expect. Not necessarily tactics or anything like that. It's more about let's get back to where we were. And this move, this is the one big difference, was made far earlier than the 1979 change. So this is urgency rather than the long-term reset. So will 2026 be another 1980? I'd love it to be, but I think I'm being misled. I think you are too. 1979 was about unlocking the veteran core with a new hard edge manager. 2026 is systemic performance issues, not just lighting a fire underneath these players. Can Don Mattingly stabilize the roster enough to avoid wasting the last of this championship window? So I got a question for you. What in the name of Michael Jack Schmidt is going on here? Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly comes on. And in the first game tonight, it's the exact same lineup that Rob Thomson was putting on the field. Tonight, we got Trey Turner leading off, followed by Kyle Schwarber, followed by Bryce Harper, then Dallas Garcia in cleanup. We don't have a true cleanup hitter. Then Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, and Justin Crawford, and Rafael Marchand in the place, of course, the best catcher in baseball who is out for a little while longer. Our pitcher is Jesus Luzardo, who signed a big contract in the offseason and should hopefully get this thing turned around, facing a Giants team that on paper should be a lot worse than us as well. So is this going to work? History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And today's move echoes 1979 in emotion, but not in substance. Phillies aren't looking for another Dallas Green. They're looking for a reset button. And is Don Mattingly the guy that's going to do it? Are we finally, PH finally, going to get to see the Phillies team we expected to see this year?